Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reverse the Verse. Today is Friday, November 4th, 2016. I'll be your host, Tyler Whitkin, Community Manager in the Austin, Texas studio. Joining me to kick things off, one of the most animated animators I've ever met, senior animator, David Pang. David?
Hey, how's it going, man?
How are you doing, my friend?
Good.
Glad to have you here. So
Thanks.
Just in case you don't know what we're doing, and for anybody who's watching right now on twitch.tv or YouTube, we're actually streaming to two different places today. We are going to be talking about yesterday's episode of Around the Verse. If you're not familiar or you haven't seen it, you can find it as our most recent video on our Star Citizen YouTube right now. But basically,
Cool.
We're going to be taking questions from the chat room on robertspaceindustriescom. So we're not going to be taking questions from Twitch chat or from YouTube. So if you want to get your question in, head over to robertspaceindustriescom, log in, click on community, and then on chat. Preface your questions with the word question in brackets. And there's no need to repeat your question. We actually have auto scroll turned off so we don't miss anything. So while they go ahead and start piling in their questions, and just as a reminder, by the way, animator. So any questions about animation, probably your best bet with getting an answer. So while their questions are piling in, why don't you go ahead and kick things off and tell us a bit about who you are, your history at CIG, and maybe some of the stuff you've been working on.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a senior animator at here at CIG, and I guess when I things have shifted around a lot since I got here. But yeah, in the past I've done
a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things. I've done fight choreography. I've done stunts, motion capture performance. I've done tactical consulting.
So when you say motion capture performance,
on the motion capture and also for video reference for animators.
Okay.
But yeah, and then at sitting at a desk, I've been doing mostly persistent universe animations.
Okay.
I've also worked on assisted on player navigation.
So for persistent universe animations, you mean like just NPCs that are populating the world, but also like the players' animations, how they interact with the world and stuff like that?
Mostly the NPC
Okay.
characters, but there's some sharing. It seems to be back and forth because I mean it's a fluid process. So we might discover we might create something for the player and go, oh man, that would be really great for the NPC. We should see if we can incorporate that in, or that'll save us some time or solve something, and then vice versa. We might create something like we've shot a couple of things here in Austin. With mocap, and then we've discovered, oh man, we can use this for the player. So
So there's a lot of we have Squadron 42, the single player campaign, and then we have Star Citizen with the persistent universe, and a lot of the animations are shared between the two.
As much as possible, technically. Okay. But as far as creating assets, that's where you get your biggest bang for the buck, because why go through and shoot something twice when if you could shoot it all, do it all in one shoot and figure out how to make it work for both.
Right. So it's similar to how we do like environments and ships. It's kind of modular. We try and reuse assets in order to be efficient.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and jump straight into some questions that we are getting from the chat room on robertspaceindustries.com. The first one is, why was Ian Duncan mopping? Was it punishment? So in yesterday's episode, we saw the mopping animation. I actually saw a lot of people on the forums and Reddit and whatnot talking about, it's so far in the future. We have intergalactic travel and all this stuff. Why are we still using a mop? Was it, tell us a bit about that.
One word: discipline.
Discipline. Hey, I mean,
insubordination. Now, while we're trying to figure out how much technology we're going to incorporate, I think the decision was made to let's go ahead and just have a mop and bucket in there.
Yeah, a mop and bucket.
Just something.
I mean, there's little things like that make the world feel alive. Like we saw from Vanessa's bit with the rolling around in the bed and stuff. It's like really subtle things that we have an environment packed with NPCs doing that. It feels really immersive.
Well, it grounds you too, because you can't have everything like, this is the future, everything floats and isn't transparent, and but if you have if you've got this this $1 billion destroyer going through space, and you've got all this futuristic technology, but then you've got things like people are still cleaning up tables, or they're still welding on things. You might have a guy that's just like
So to sum it all up, yes, he was being punished.
This up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is actually a question I was hoping was asked because I want to know myself. Somebody was saying, first of all, amazing job. What ideas do you have for the NPC animation in like a PU bar, such as G-Loc or any other stuff in Area 18? I think I actually saw when I walked past your desk once upon a time, you were working on like Astro Armada animation. So why don't you just give us some examples of, what we'll see NPCs doing in a place like ArtCorp?
Oh, sure. Think about that. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess a couple of it's a place where you go to buy
Ships.
buy ships.
So Astro Armada, like the
new and used
interstellar ship dealership.
Right.
Okay.
Astro Armada, I think they're still trying to decide what it is they want to sell. What type of ships they want to sell. If are there going to be different types, things like that. Of dealerships. But yeah, I think that one's probably going to tailor to all types for now. So you may have people that are in there like, I just want to go. I need an Aurora, or I need to get a freelancer.
Okay.
And so you'll have stuff where you'll see things where there'll be NPC characters walking in, and they're being greeted by customer greeters, and
so they'll interact with each other and stuff.
You'll walk up, make transactions where someone's actually sitting at a desk. The player will be able to do this as well. I'm just handling the NPC side.
So at the AI, there was something you told me, this was a long time ago, about like the different ways that like a couple may come in and act when they're trying to buy a ship. Like can you tell that story? Because that was really cool to me.
Oh, that was so much fun. We shot some motion capture in Austin, and the scenario we came up with 2 or 3 scenarios, and 2 of the scenarios was that you had either a single person that would come in and say, "Hey, I want to do this," and then you'd have a one-on-one interaction. But then we had it where we had a couple that were coming in to discuss a sale on something. So it was like, I wanted to kind of relate to kind of what you have to deal with
in real life.
A car,
So they come in and like one of them is wanting the M50.
One of them wants the 60 M50, and then the other one, is like, no, come on, we need
a minivan.
Kids,
we've got kids,
something that does it all, and they're just having to negotiate. Finally, the husband's like, he's just like, honey, if you do this, if you do it this way, then maybe later we can get you the M50. And he's like,
so you can basically see it in the animations. Right. You can see them
see it.
Him pleading for the M50, and she's like, no. And he walks over to the sales guy, and like she leaves the store. Like just stuff like that, where it's like it feels like you could kind of see their story through their animations.
Yeah, we even have there's if I can get it in there. There's one where there's a couple that's. They're not getting along. The spouse is just being really difficult.
Yeah.
And so the guy comes in. He's like, all right, we're both here.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's nice because even without we weren't recording first unit with stage mics. So, but when you play it back, because of the way we did the performance, it's really readable even at a distance.
That's cool.
Oh man, they're discussing or they're arguing.
That's really cool. So we got another question here. Do you plan on doing different animations for the NPC, whether they are civilians, pirates, soldiers? And honestly, that kind of bleeds into a question I was having that kind of relates to that is, will you be able to see personalities in the same vein? Like, will you be able to tell somebody's shady or clumsy or rich or, all the types of different variants? Do you have like different sets to reflect maybe a different landing zone, like something like if you're in Grim Hex, people will be a little, shadier.
Oh yeah. You'll definitely see. I think our right now we're working on trying just to get the base in, but I think that's the part that I'm really excited about, is getting to the point where we can go and say, okay, now, let's say this shady part of. ArtCorp.
Yeah, the back alleyways.
The back alleyway, and it'd be cool just to, like if you're going through there, and there's like in the back alley they've got those mesh fences.
Yeah.
I would love to see somebody like just come up to one of the mesh fences and you just see like the silhouette of a body, just kind of like just do a switch through the through the fence.
Yeah, like doing.
And then the other guy, and maybe the guy is, maybe the guy isn't like in shambles. Maybe the guy is.
No, I like that.
He's well to do, and he is going.
Yeah. It's cool. And by the way, if you guys can hear any background noise, I apologize for that. The Galleria where we work is doing a bunch of construction. They're building a park outside, so not sure if it's picking up, but just a heads up. But that's really cool. So basically, depending on where you are in the universe, you'll be really immersed by kind of the personality of the characters portrayed through their animation.
And you're going to experience that also in like just areas like if there's areas where there's, let's say there's a lot of upper income, so like you may see you see different social classes
walk with their chest out a little bit.
Walk with their chest out. People serving champagne. People just
that's really
usually
cool.
on vacation versus people that are just trying to survive.
That's awesome. So here's a two-worded question. More emotes? Question mark. Do you know anything about going? I mean, I guess it's a design call for doing it. But have you in the short term had anything tasked for more emotes right now?
Oh man, there's so many emotes, like personally, that I really, really want to do.
Okay.
But
and you can mocap perform them. You just have to go rogue, like after everybody leaves the studio, you just gotta go in there and just put in some stuff.
Just sneak in, yeah. No, I think I don't think I'm the only one that's thinking about this. I think we just have a base set that's in there right now, but I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities for variety. I mean, I've got my in my head my personal wish list of what I'd like to have, but that's really up to upper management. But
cool. So here's another one. This one, I don't know if you have a fun story or anything, but what is the weirdest animation that has been requested for Star Citizen? I've seen a couple on Shotgun that I think are pretty weird.
Weirdest. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. The toilet ones.
I was going to say I saw there was like a restroom set on that.
Sir, I don't know what they're shooting. I don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah, well, they're doing some more PU mocap.
PU mocap. Yeah. I've heard about it. I know for on the Austin side that we shot a lot of toilet animations.
A lot.
I mean,
this is what you came here to find out, right?
Yeah.
Let's not even go into detail.
Okay, I can't tell you about the emergency exit at the toilet. Okay.
Is there really one?
There is an emergency
exit,
and
of the
that
toilet.
was funny because we had on the I think it was on the Freelancer, or the Connie, there was a door that would slide down, right? So they would so the performers would sit in there, and we had like this stick, or like a mop stick.
Okay.
And we're like, you can't get out until the hatch leaves. So we want to get the performance. We're like, come on, get out of there, so I can get out of there, And I think the first time we did it, the performer didn't realize that we were gonna how slow we were gonna do it.
Yeah.
So she's doing her thing. The alarm goes off, and I raised it up, and then I slowed it down my timing is a little off, and she ran right into the edge. She was like, "Oh no!"
I hope you saved that data. I hope you saved that data for the sci-fi wrestling matches.
Oh man, it was hilarious.
So this is a question that I have for you personally, actually. I know that you are really into creature animation and stuff, and so we talk a lot about humans and humanoid animations and mocap like that. One thing I'm really curious about is what do we do for creatures? I mean, we're going to have a lush living world. Do you mocap various animals, or how do you do that?
I'll say yes and no. It depends. There are there's many different ways that you can do this. I'll try to answer this as short as possible. A lot of traditional animators will say that it's better to do everything by hand.
Okay, so hand-keyed animations.
Yeah, especially if you're really going for like a stylized look. But but I think on a project like this, I really need to take a look at what let's say like practical effects studios have done. ILM, Stan Winston, Weta. It's not, everything doesn't have to be completely hand keyed. If you can get by with doing physical puppeteering, even to get
I see what you're saying.
part. You have to, if it's, let's say, if it's a centipede with like 100 legs on it.
I don't know how you would
get a guy in a
mocap.
mocap suit. I'd try, but it would be a failure.
I don't think you could put a mocap suit onto a centipede.
No, but like
that would be really weird.
Yeah, like the most complex thing that I've ever done, where I did basically puppeteering, sort of animatronics or motion capture animatronics, was I think there was I did a creature that had 6 limbs and like backwards legs, and I was able to pull it off. And so instead of an animator, we had an animator doing it. This is for a past project. We had an animator doing hand keyed at the same time, and what took him 3 months to do, I think he ended up with about 30 seconds of animation. What we ended up putting together and shooting in 2 weeks, we got about 20 minutes of base animation. Now the animators on top of that have to go in and they have to animate all the little limbs and maybe use a program like Motion Builder to massage the motion. So you if you want a little more follow through or slam or whatever it is, or time stretching if it's a big creature to make it seem like it's slow.
Yeah.
So part of it's a mix of 3 things. It's practical rigging. It's a performer doing the puppeteering, which we know works very well. I mean, if you look at what was done in The Force Awakens, it works great.
So creatures coming to a verse near you.
Yeah, and then you need an animator that's puts on their animator cap and
goes to work,
finishes it. Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and answering questions. I appreciate it a lot. I know everybody watching appreciates it, so thank you very much. And hopefully we'll have you on here again. And guys, when we come back, we're going to sit down with Emra Switzer, lighting artist, to talk about the lighting of Star Marine maps in 2.6. And we're back. This time, Emra Switzer, lighting artist. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Yourself?
I don't think I've had the pleasure of getting to hang out with you on stream before, so this is a treat. So for those of you watching, for all of those watching, why don't you tell us a bit about who you are, your history at CIG, and some of the stuff that you've been working on?
Yeah, I joined CIG last year in June of 2015. I came straight out of the community, actually. That's a funny story. I know you like to tell that to a lot of people who come in for fan tours.
Yeah.
I came from the Reddit community. I posted my stuff on Reddit, and it got upvoted. It got seen by some people here, and I got a job.
So that was when so some of you may remember this. Back in the day, I think it was shared on the forums and on Reddit, you relit our hangars, and it was just super well received. And then you eventually moved to Austin, and now you're on our team. I want to bring you a little closer, so you're in frame a little more. There you go. So how old were you when that happened?
I was 18.
18 years old. That's what you call a prodigy. I'm sorry. I'm going to embarrass you like a proud parent. Anyways, so guys, go ahead and get your questions flowing in for Emra. We want to talk about lighting, specifically with the Star Marine maps, but you've also had your hand in a lot of other stuff. Can you maybe give us some examples of some of the other stuff that you've lit in your time here?
Yeah, I did a first pass on ArcCorp when I first joined. I did the original FPS module stuff. After that, I did all the stations. I did a first pass on all the stations.
Port Olisar and Grimhex. Yep. Grimhex is awesome. A lot of people have swooned about that lighting. So let's go ahead and jump straight into some questions. Let's see here. Can you give us any additional information on Echo 11 and how its history, kind of shaped its environment?
Yeah. So it's a refinery station. It started off as a refinery. And then it was taken over by pirates and kind of occupied by different factions for, I think, several hundred years. We based it heavily on Kowloon City. It was this really densely packed city in, I believe, China, where they didn't really have any infrastructure planning when they started expanding up. And so they had to, for power, they just took wires and strap them to walls and then
Okay.
wire them up to people's houses. So it has that sort of vibe to it where they're just tacking stuff on and
Similar motif to like the Drake ships, where there's like exposed wires.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They're just like, okay, we need a light here. We're just going to go ahead and strap it onto a wire and hope it works out.
That's awesome. So a lot of people are very thirsty for any information about Star Marine. So it really is a treat to have you on here. I saw a post yesterday that saw Comare 849 in the Echo 11 Star Marine map. So do you care to clarify? Does Tessa from the Persistent Universe have anything to do with the new map?
No. So actually, all the star. Yeah, I know it's disappointing. It's placeholder art. It's just so that we get an idea of where stuff goes.
Okay.
So then when we do the final lighting pass, it's or the final art pass, it's there.
Okay. Cool.
All the stuff in Star Marine, I'm fairly certain, is like past events that happened, and then since Star Marine's like a simulation, it's a reliving of those events.
So there's actual lore and history to support these environments,
Yep,
which is really
absolutely.
cool. So I was exploring a little bit of the map yesterday, and I saw there's a lot of crazy props in there. Like I saw like a pole with handcuffs on it, and or like a hacksaw in a little pool of blood, and
Yep.
and so how do you go about lighting the environment? Like, do you cater to the mood of the room that like level design sets, or do you actually get involved and mess with props as well? Like, tell us a little about your process.
So each room has a really distinct vibe. Like you mentioned, there's a boxing, or not a boxing, like a fighting
Like
pit,
okay.
right? Yeah, and you got
Fight
blood
Club?
decal. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we take cues from what's in the environment, right? So there's a scoreboard in there. We go ahead and we put lighting on that scoreboard because that's what they do. Make sure we're highlighting, the fighting match well.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Echo 11 specifically, we really wanted to make each room feel unique, so you know where you are. It's a really massive map. It's probably one of the largest space station maps we've done. So making sure that the player always knows where they are within the level is really important. So each room has its own mood.
Yeah, so you mentioned that in Around the Verse. It really helps kind of call out without doing the blatant, like, this room is blue walls, this room is green walls. You kind of get creative with the lighting, so people can be more tactical in their call outs to find each other and stuff like that. And that's really cool. So we got a few questions here. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this one, but we'll give it a try. How will lighting interface within game tech like night vision, thermal vision work? Is that your area?
I'm not sure. I don't know what the plans are for night and thermal.
Okay.
I don't know if we have that implemented.
So you focus a lot on lighting the environments and stuff. Most recently, I think a lot of people from the community were extremely excited to see ArcCorp with its relight in patch 2.5. Looks really, really good. So let's see what else we have here. What has been your biggest challenge lighting while working with CIG?
Probably performance. Like, we have so many detailed environments with so many little tiny assets, and when you throw a shadow casting light on that, the performance shoots up. So we need to really make sure that everything's as efficient as possible. Right? If you walk through a door, all the lights behind you should turn off, or not turn off, but not be rendered.
So there's like LODs with lights, kind of.
Sort of, yeah. So.
Okay. And so does it basically work like you have a budget, basically, like for memory, and you're constantly watching it, trying to see what you can get away with, what you can't, and stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah, and there's something called shadow draw calls, which is the main performance impact. And so the way lighting gets more expensive, if you have multiple shadow casting frustrums, which are just cones of, it's wherever the light casts.
Okay.
So if you have an object that's casting multiple shadows, that's going to be exponentially more expensive. So making sure that they don't overlap and making sure that they call out at the right times is the challenge.
Okay, cool. So here's a question: how closely do you work with developers regarding lighting? Do you talk about how lighting would work in a scene and if it should affect the gameplay? And honestly, this is a really good question. One of the patterns we've had is we've talked to people on Reverse the Verse about how there's cross departmental communication. And so, to follow that up as well, is do you kind of get free reign to just go in there, let Emra loose, and see what he can make with the level, or is there a lot of pre-production and planning and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of pre-production, as well as constant communication with the environment guys. So if we put down a light somewhere, it's one of the things that makes lighting really work in a scene is what's called specular gloss variation, right? So you want to have surfaces that have varying glossiness and reflectivity. That makes it look interesting, makes it look realistic, it makes it look gritty and real and tactile. And so if we have a really strong key light, hitting a floor, and then that floor doesn't have any breakup, we'll send a screenshot over to one of the environment guys. We're like, hey, can we put down, a puddle or some oil or some dirt or something? And that usually helps a lot.
So it's very iterative.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. A lot of communication with the environment guys to make sure we make everything
look
as good as possible.
Let's see here. Have you learned classic stage lighting or just jumped into CG lighting? What's your background and how did you get into wanting to be a lighting artist?
Yeah, I started off in the CryEngine modding community. When I saw that CIG had a job listing, I was like, okay, I know CryEngine well enough. I know a little bit about lighting. I was into photography before, which has some relevancy to lighting. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down for like 3 months straight. I'm just gonna study everything about lighting. And so I read a lot of stuff on film lighting, cinematic lighting, that sort of thing, to get a better feel for how to actually do proper environment lighting, because they definitely are correlated.
So do you have any advice for anybody who may want to pursue the similar track? It's really just research, right? Or
yeah, just dive into a game engine and start. Just take cool. Like, there's plenty of environments available out there. You can just go in and do lighting passes on, and just it takes time, but it's really fun.
Okay, cool. Question: will player-generated light sources dynamically interact with the environment? Example: if I have a bright red light on my armor, will it tint the local lighting red?
Certain lights. So if you have a red flashlight, it probably would. Like our flashlights now interact with the environment, they cast shadows. If though, like, you wore red armor and you stood in a white room with a really intense bright light, it wouldn't right now. But we are planning some tech which would allow our environment probes, which is how we get reflections and, well, largely just reflections, both diffuse and specular, to color the environment. We're getting tech to get that in real time. So if we had that tech and you had red armor and you walked into a white room, it would actually color the room very slightly red. Okay,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't even know we were working on that. Let's see what else we have here. Destructible Lights, ? Actually, you've been in the Star Marine level a lot. Tell us a bit about, is there destructible anything?
I'm not sure. We're working on item 2.0 right now. The goal is definitely to have it. It's going to be really cool, and it's going to be an important mechanic, right? When you walk into a room with your team and you know the enemies are in there, you might want to throw an EMP grenade, right? Especially if you have night vision or something else like that. Right now, those mechanics aren't in.
Okay.
Once item 2.0 comes online, I think that we're really going to start overhauling lighting and the different lighting states, right? So there'll be destructible lights, there'll be EMPable lights, there'll be different power states for lights. So if you go to a generator room and shut off the power, it's going to react differently than if you straight up shoot it out. And then emergency lighting too, right? So if you're in a space station, you trigger an emergency, the lighting in each room should react.
All right, that's really cool. And then just to chime in on that, one of the things I saw in QA was there's one thing that is destructible right now, and there's these giant like glass windows that you can currently shoot out, and it's really cool.
Wow,
glass shattering effect, which we'll see how that affects lights and stuff. So we are running out of time, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, so we've talked a lot about Star Marine, we've talked a lot about your past. Let's talk about what's next. What's going on in the future of Emra Switzer's calendar?
So much exciting stuff. We're working on the 3.0 landing sites. So Hurston, Microtech, Horizon.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
Yeah, I kind of squeezed this question in because Emra is one of the best desks to walk past. In fact, whenever I go on break to the patio, I always, as I'm approaching your desk, I walk a little bit slower because the other day I saw Microtech, and are you working on both at the same time?
Yeah,
or?
We're going in just getting a feel for what colors, what values work within those levels.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see a snowy environment, so that was cool.
And the guys' behavior are doing a killer job.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming. Just like I told with David, it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to everybody else. If it was your first time watching Reverse the Verse, we hope you enjoyed it. Next week, Around the Verse will be back on Thursday, just like it's always scheduled. A few community updates before we go. The Asperia Prowler art competition is still going on. You can go to our forums. It's under official announcements. Draw a picture of what you think the Prowler may look like. We're accepting submissions through November 11th. We're going to announce the winners at our anniversary live stream, which is 2 weeks away, on November 18th. The monthly report, it will be out later today. And last but definitely not least, a huge thank you to all of our subscribers and everybody else who supports us, makes shows like this and Star Citizen possible. Thanks again, Emra, and we'll see you guys in the verse.